What does a salesperson compensation plan actually look like with real numbers? None of this guessing game, but real numbers that would make a salesperson happy and have them perform to put more money in your pocket. My name is Harrison Barron from growth-generators.com. We help MSPs with sales training and marketing. Before I get into today's video, I do have to mention two quick things as always. There's a masterclass down below. I would highly recommend going and checking it out. I do swap them in and out. There's currently 2 in the cycle. By the time you see this, there could be 3 or 4. So go check that out. I would highly recommend it. And the feedback that we get from all of them is honestly fantastic. And I appreciate all of you guys for providing the insights that you guys do on those. Number 2, come hang out with us in the Discord. I don't know what you're waiting for. If you'd like to join, it is growth-generators.com/Discord. It is completely free. We don't ask for any contact information. All we ask is for you to come in, ask great questions, and be a part of the community. And if you're interested and you don't know how to get there, there's a link, as always, down in the video description. So let's talk about comp plans. There's a couple different areas that we really need to talk about. There's specifically 5 of them when it comes to your compensation plan. Now, compensation, I'm going to break out my fake money here because that's always important. Compensation is the total amount of money that that person should make. We're going to be talking about base salaries, commissions, your bonuses, incentives, profit sharing, and equity. Believe it or not, there is some people that do that. And then total or on target earnings, which is the entire amount of compensation. In the next video, following this video, I'm going to talk about commission structures. This is comp. Next one is commission. They are going to be pretty different because some people might be paying people differently, and I want to provide as many great options as I possibly can to you guys to be the most helpful resource. By the way, if you've made it this far, I would appreciate the heck out of a like and subscribe. I have to make a note to myself to tell people to subscribe because it shows in the numbers, but I appreciate the heck out of you guys for always checking it out. So let's talk about base salary. Your base salary is the money that you get paid basically to just show up to work. Now, if you've come from a job already, you probably get some kind of salary, especially if you're a technician. More than likely, you probably just have a salary. You don't call it a base salary or any of the terms that we're going to be using in this because you get paid to do a job. Now, salespeople get paid to do a job, but they are much more, or it is much more important to talk about the amount of work that they actually do. In most cases, at least from what I've seen, salespeople work way more than 40 hours a week, and they are constantly trying to find new deals. They work sometimes, in most cases, especially in my past history, I've worked 60 to 70 hours per week. It's not because I didn't like it. I enjoyed doing it. It didn't feel like work. But your base salary is the amount of money basically guaranteed to you every single month. Now, there's 3 tiers of employees. The first one is going to be that entry level, just starting out. They have little to no experience. Now, all of these numbers are going to be US based, not in a major tech hub, but not in the sticks either. This is going to be a more suburban, maybe a couple miles outside of a city. For a beginner, you're looking at between 40 and 60,000. Now, what makes a beginner? A beginner is somebody that has experience in the industry, understands what an MSP is, knows computers, but hasn't really done sales just yet, or has some kind of sales background and is a little bit techie. They're going to get paid about $40,000 to $60,000 per year. Obviously, depending on where you are, you might want to adjust that, but that's a okay salary. Some people might say, hey, it should be a little lower than that. To each their own. I like to pay people fairly, or as fairly as I possibly can. A mid-level is somebody that has experience and some experience in sales. They might not have a tremendous history. They might not have the craziest resume out there. But for a mid-tier salesperson, believe it or not, it's somewhere between the numbers of 60 to 80. Now, if you are like, hey, that still seems a little high, 50 to 70. I think a mid-tier salesperson is going to be doing, and keep in mind, in the next one, we're going to be talking about inside and outside sales, the next video, but for the most part, $60,000 to $80,000 a year. At this point, they probably know a lot Honestly, they know servers, they can config servers, they know the resources to go get the information to go say, hey, this is what we need to deploy there. They have a good idea and they're measuring certain things for cable runs and have a really good idea of on-site time for different projects, for just different work in general. And then you have your senior level. This can range just basically $80,000 and up. It could be as high as $80,000 to $100,000. Now, for big MSPs, that's a reasonable number. For anybody sub 200 people in sales, obviously take this with a grain of salt. You're probably looking at the $70,000 to $80,000 mark for a high tier person, but it also depends on the complexity and the services that you're going to be offering. Do they know the networking? Do they know computers? Do they know servers? Do they know the cloud? Do they know how you're going to be buying licenses? Are they getting involved in other areas of technology, maybe video surveillance and access control? The more knowledge that they have, the more that they're going to be compensated in that way. So you have three salary brackets, that 40 to 60, or 40 to 60, 60 to 80, and then kind of 80,000 plus, give or take. And obviously take this with a grain of salt. Once again, where you are, what you're capable of paying people, and what you think is fair, and how they perform. You might want to say, hey, we're going to put you on we're going to start you here, and then in 6 months, we're going to reevaluate to kick it up. That might be something that you want to do. Next is going to be commission. So commission is something super touchy because nobody really knows how much you should be paying on commission. The next video that I'm going to be releasing is going to be covering all of that, but I am going to tell you a couple different things. There are going to be three kind of different ways that you're going to get paid commission. One, on hardware sales. It is going to be a very small percentage, sometimes as little as 1% or 10% of the profit on the hardware, somewhere in there, depending on what you feel comfortable with. But you have your software sales, or better yet, hardware sales. Then you have your software sales. There is plenty of room to be made in software sales, depending on what you get. And then the third and most important is the recurring revenue, especially for your service contracts. There are tons of different ways to pay that. You can do the first month up front. You can do, hey, you're going to get a piece every single month. It also depends on the role. If they're bringing that customer in and they never see that customer again, it's a very different role. But if they're bringing that customer in and they're kind of checking in on that customer on a fairly regular basis, you might want to incentivize that person on a monthly or annual basis, so that way that customer renews that contract. But that's something really, really important. And commission is kind of crazy. I'm going to give you guys a couple different options, like I said, in the next video. So you're definitely going to want to hit like, subscribe, and notify. Number 3 is your bonuses and incentives. Now, these are just, hey, if you hit this number, we're going to give you more money, right? More of this stuff. What do those numbers look like? For you, you have to figure out what those could be. Typically, a bonus can be 1 to 5, even more percent of that person's compensation. So if that person's total comp, or in this case, on target earnings is $100,000, maybe because they sold, I don't know, $300,000 or $400,000 worth of services, well, you could probably throw them an extra 1 to 5, maybe even high as 10% as a bonus for saying, hey, thank you. You did a great job. You made the company a ton of money, and you can have that as well. But you can develop what those incentives are. Hey, you know what? If you close X amount of business in the first quarter, X amount in the second quarter, X amount in the third quarter, and so on and so forth. But you, as the business owner, get to figure that out. But bonusing and incentivizing salespeople is a real thing. And trust me, it works. The more incentives and the more bonuses you give, the more you are going to yield from it. Trust me. Salespeople don't go into sales because they love it. They go into it because they love this. They like talking to people. They happen to be good at it, but it is tiring talking to people all day and consistently never turning off, which is where most salespeople most people fall into. They just are constantly working. Number 4 is profit sharing or equity. Now, this is not something that I would always recommend, but hey, if it's a senior level person or you really want to retain top talent, or they're doing a really good job and you're like, hey, this would be horrible if we lost a salesperson. This person brings in all of the business. It might be something you want to explore. They might get a couple percentage points of total profit. They might say, hey, we're going to take the top 10% of our total profit and distribute that through profit sharing to the rest of the employees, and maybe the sales team gets a percentage of that. You could also give equity. It is not uncommon to give your employees a share of equity. It is not common, but it's not uncommon. If you really love that employee and you think, hey, this is really somebody that should be a part of the team forever, or we couldn't imagine business without this person, equity is not a bad thing. In most cases, people are going to be pretty happy to take equity as a form of comp because they know that the more they work and the harder they work, the more the business grows and they get to have a share in that. I personally love equity. I wish more businesses kind of gave it out, but I understand the fear of, hey, you're giving out equity. It could be something that they don't get back, and they really need to make sure. This is definitely geared towards a more veteran of the company. If they've been with the company for a long time and maybe you've kind of maxed comp, equity is a really nice thing to give, even if it's only a very small percentage of the company, and it gives that person something more incentivized to work for because now they have a small piece and they get to taste that pie. And last but not least is your on-target earnings. This is when you say, hey, you're going to make $150,000. We're going to take your salary of, I don't know, let's say 60 to 80. We're going to take your commissions. We're going to have your bonuses and incentives. If you hit all of these things, you're going to have your on-target earnings. Maybe it's $125,000, $150,000 per year. So that salesperson knows, hey, I'm going to look at the numbers and I'm going to say, if I do this, and I work really, really hard, I could make upwards of $150,000 per year. It is something that is regularly advertised in job postings, talking about, hey, what's your OTE, your on-target earnings? I see it all of the time. It is a common question to get asked in an interview. It is a common question to ask in an interview. Understand what an on-target earning is. It'll be a piece of every single thing that I talked about. That base salary, that commission, bonuses and incentives, and maybe even profit sharing, or I wouldn't put equity in there. And then you have your OTE, your on-target earnings. You hit all your targets, boom. This is how much money you are going to bring home. So that is compensation for an MSP. If you've enjoyed this video, I would highly, highly, highly recommend hitting that like button, subscribe button, notification bell. I love the heck out of you guys. Check down below for all of the good links. And the next video that is going to be coming out is all about your commission, talking about the percentages of commission, the different types of commission. And I'm super excited for that one. I'll see you guys on that one.